Welcome to the 10 Acre Woods. My name's Mark, and this is our laser engraving room. I got into laser engraving about 5 years ago as a hobby, making different things and learning, and there's always a lot to learn when it comes to laser engraving. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I made up this here. So YouTube doesn't actually send you a play button for your bronze level, which is 10,000 subscribers. So I decided to make one of my own. Maybe that'll fit nicely up there on the wall. So this video is sponsored by xTool, the makers of the D1, which is sitting just over here that they sent me last year. And then the newest is the M1. So this one here is a laser engraver, cutter, and fabric cutter as well. So I have done the unboxing of that a couple weeks ago, so you can always check out that link if you're interested in unboxing, what it comes with. What we're going to do today is we're going to go over setup and basic operation of this unit, and then in future videos I will be doing a fabric cutting one. I've got to learn that. That's something new to me. Maybe my wife and daughter can help me out with that on what kind of projects we can come up with. And there's also a rotary tool, which I do have a rotary tool for the D1. This one has a chuck and the roller, so you can do mugs. I put a copper ring in here. I was going to maybe start to test out on the rings. You can engrave rings if you'd like. Now, setting up of this unit, it was relatively easy. I brought it down. I've got a couple laser engravers hooked up to one laptop right here. Now, the maximum length of a standard USB cable going over is about 5 meters. So you want to, if you're going any further than that, you can go up to 30 meters or around 100 feet if you use an active cable. So an active USB cable is essentially a powered USB cable. So if you are going longer, you want to go with an active unit here. Now, I probably could have got away with just a passive regular extension, but the cable, it's just a standard size cable that they send you that's about 1 meter long. So it wouldn't quite wrap around to where I wanted it to. So I have a couple of these active cables. So hooking that up. Then your exhaust system. So with my other laser engraver here, I had done the same thing. And what I did is I went and I've got these sliding windows here in the basement. And there is 1.5 inch gap of where the window tracks into. So I had picked up some styrofoam insulation from the hardware store, and it's the perfect width. So then I went and I cut it to size, and then I cut a hole in it, and I came up with this here. So this hose comes with it, and then I just put an exhaust on it. I spliced 2 pieces together just because I didn't want to cut a whole new sheet out. I had some pieces, so this worked well. I haven't gotten around to putting tuck tape around the edges of it, which might be a good idea. I did that with my original one here. This one's for the other laser. And you can see I just finished it off by putting tuck tape around the outside. So that might be something that you want to do if you're doing this. And of course, different windows, your installation can vary. So it's pretty simple. I just open up my window, and this is taller than the opening of the window, so you have to slide the top in first and then kick the bottom in. Just up like that. Pull it down, slide it over. It fits just perfectly in there. And then you can slide your window over, and now you have an exhaust. Now, if you don't have any capabilities, your windows don't work, you don't have any exhaust plumbing outside, ducting outside, I guess, plumbing's water, then what you can do is xTool does have an air purifier system. So it's a standalone box system that you can hook up your exhaust to. I imagine it comes with some good filtration, some HEPA filtration, and likely some activated carbon to get any particles, any toxins out of the air. So that's also an option. So the first thing we want to do is open up xTool Creative Space here. and that's going to launch. And they've got a couple other, there's LaserBox Basic, which is for the D1, and then there's LaserBox Projects, which brings up a whole bunch of projects if you're not as creative. I went and took a look at that, and they've got a bunch of projects and things that you can do. Now, you'll notice that we're not hooked up. It says xTool M1. It says Connect Device. So what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to come over. I'm going to turn on our xTool. All right, here we go. We are connected here. And this unit has a camera built in. So we can see our working environment here and what we're going to place down on it. Now I am going to open up a project. And there's a few projects that I've been working on. So I did one called Manitoba Glorious and Free. And what that is it is the province of Manitoba. And then our motto or tagline is Glorious and Free. And then down here, this is where the capital is located, Winnipeg. It's also very close to where the 10-acre woods is also located, just outside of Winnipeg. So you can change things up here. You know, if you wanted to add something else, let's say, you click on text, and then you just come over and you click anywhere on here, and it's going to bring up just a standard text here. Hello. They've picked this as your welcome text. And then you're going to type anything over here. So we'll go Manitoba. And there we are there. Of course, it's a little big. Let's just move this Glorious and Free here out of the way. So what we can do is change the text size here. Maybe we'll try 50, 40. That's still a little big. Let's go 30. All right, we'll go with 30. It doesn't fit, but if we rotate it, so we can do that up here. There is a way to resize it here. There isn't any way to rotate it yet. That might come in another version. So, you know, in a lot of programs, it'll show your little arrows, and you can then rotate it. So, if we go 20%, it's a little bit more. We have to go negative, though. Let's go negative 30%. All right, so that's good. It's a little big, however, so we can actually just grab that and bring it down, and it's going to automatically adjust the size here. Sometimes it'll snap into locations, which may not be what you want to do. You can also use your arrow keys up and down to fine-tune it. And that's probably pretty good right there. You can change your font if you want by going in here, and it's currently set at Arial. We have a font here on the farm that is called Pooh, so I just had to type in P-O, and here it is here. So that is that one there. Pretty easy to do. If you have text where it's multiple words and you want to center it, you do have an alignment, left, middle, right, so you can line everything up there, and that's how that works. You can also change your spacing. All right, so we're going to go with that. Now, this here, I've got this preset, so I'm at power 75 and 50 speed. I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to go 75, because I know that works, and 50 speed. So I know that does work. It looks a little low, so I'm just going to hit my arrow keys up a little bit, and here we go, just like that. And that's pretty much it. Now, you also have, when you select something like this, you've got Score, Cut, and Engrave. So, of course, this is set at Cut, which is 4 and 100. And if you want to score, I don't believe there's any difference between Cut and Score. It does the same thing. You have to use a vector as opposed to like a JPEG. If you're using a JPEG or some file like that, you can only engrave. Only engraving will show up. So to make a vector, you can use many different programs. I use Adobe Illustrator. But there's a lot of free programs out there. I believe there is even some online websites that you can upload an image to, and it'll automatically create a vector for you. So what you would do here is you would go into image, and then so this is my vector file, and then this here is just a standard JPEG. So if I were to use this, it would only be able to engrave it out. So anyway, that is a basic rundown of that. I believe the only difference between cut and score is the color. Just to keep things organized here, you can see my Manitoba is actually set to, it's actually set to a score. So, and that's what I want. So I want it to go across those lines. If I wanted to have it go back and forth and actually engrave that in, I would then select the engrave and select my power and speed here. Now, material, user defined. So this is 3mm basswood plywood. You collect this, or you click on this here, and it'll automatically come up with power ratings. Now, if you have a certain type of material, I've got a number of materials around here. This is actually quite thick here. That probably would be a little bit too large. So one piece of wood that I picked up in a 4x8 sheet is this here. Now I believe this is about 7mm. So you'll have to dial in some of your numbers. You know, I made a spreadsheet on Excel to figure out exactly what power ratings and speed I should be using to cut. Engraving's pretty much the same. One thing I have noticed, however, is if you have grains in it, sometimes it will hang on to certain grains because those grains are a little bit harder than maybe some of the adjacent that's softer. I've got a caliper here that I use quite a bit for doing some measurements. So this is 5mm. So it's a little thicker, and I have managed to cut through the 5mm plywood with the M1. It is a 10-watt laser engraver, and they achieve that by taking two 5-watt diodes and then situating them in such a way that it combines into a full 10-watt laser beam. So a tool like this is very handy just to figure out your sizes, especially if you have something that you want to you know, duplicate. So here's a little sheep here. Now, if I went and took a picture of this and made this into a vector, it would bring it in and it might be huge. So by taking this and actually measuring out at its widest or highest point, I can then say this is 95mm wide. I can plug that in and it's going to give me the same thing. So having one of these, and they're relatively inexpensive, you can get them online. Okay, so we have done this. So this is kind of what we're shooting for here. If you wanted to save your project, we can go and save it as something else, and I can just call this Manitoba. I'll just take out the glorious and free. And away we go. With somebody I watched on YouTube, they had a hard time trying to figure out how to make a circle. So they went into shapes here, and they looked around and they said, wow, I got triangles, I've got everything but a circle. And actually anything but a square. There's a square with rounded edges. But what you have to actually do is go into insert. So insert a line, rectangular, circle. So if we click on circle, we can then bring out our circle. And if we hold down shift, then it's going to keep the dimensions of the circle the same. So there we go with that. And of course the same thing with the square. You know, you've got your square, and hold down shift, and there we go. And it's now locked in. This is where the locking is helpful. So there we go. We've got a square and a circle. We're going to take some small little pieces of wood here, and we're going to throw them. We're going to throw them in here and line them up. Now there's 3 of them there, so it's going to now think of, reload, and there it is. So if we take this and put it here, and then we select it, we should be able to go to what's called Smart Fill here. And as soon as we click on that, it is now going to detect all of the items that are on there, and it is going to set them up. Now, it doesn't do a great job of lining them up, horizontally, vertically, so you may have to go in and tweak it a little bit. But if you're doing a whole bunch of projects, then this is the way to do it, and then you can kind of fine tune instead of copying, pasting. Now, another thing that you may want to know on zooming in. So, of course, when you scroll up and down, you've got your scrolling of your screen, which is great. If you hold down the control button and then scroll in and scroll out, that's how that works. And if I want to scroll over to this side, I can scroll out, move my cursor over here, and it'll scroll into that area. And the same on this side if I want to scroll into this side. So it's just there's a few different programs that do it that way. So you don't have to go through and hit Control Plus and do all that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to set this up and we're going to start engraving. One thing that the users in the, I believe it was the beta version of the M1 came up with, since there's no honeycomb plate on here, you can get that, and you can also get a riser unit that brings it up, and it's got the honeycomb and it's got everything all built in. With this unit here, what they did is they've got they're triangular prisms. I don't know how well you can see that, but it is a triangle. It's got a hole in the center of it. And they're meant to sit down on the surface, and then you put your work right on top of that. This is what you want to use, or the honeycomb tray, if you are cutting through. If you're not cutting through, if you're just engraving something, then you don't necessarily need these. So we're going to go and we're going to set up some pieces in here and get engraving and cutting. Okay, so we're going to take our two prisms. We're just going to set them down in here. Now, if you notice, there is a little LED light, a laser there. And this is how the machine tells how high the material is. So if you're using this versus putting it directly on the base, it will be able to detect that. So we are going to take our piece of wood here, and we want to put it down. The laser comes from, if you see, it comes from up here in the corner. So it may disappear while you're placing it, but there it is there. So we want to make sure that it is underneath there. Now that we've got that all lined up, we're going to come back over to the machine here, and I'm just going to get rid of this. We're just going to open a new project. No, we're not going to save this. And we'll go back to the glorious and free. And it's going to not do anything yet because I've got to open and close. It's kind of gone to sleep on me. So we just open it, we close it, we come back over to the machine, and you can see at the top here, it is capturing. And there it is. All right, so now we just need to line things up. So since the camera is up at the top shining this way, you can actually see the far edge. And of course here, of course you can't because the camera is not able to get that. So when lining this up, you want to line it up towards the top. And I'll just use my keys here. So you want that to be very close to the top of it. Just the way things line up. And the thicker the material, the higher it is up. You'll want to adjust that accordingly. So the camera's great. It is a guideline. It's a very good guideline, but it's still a guideline. So now what we're going to do is we are going to make sure that things are lined up. And the way we do that is we're going to hit Process now. And it's going to bring up our project. It says it's going to take less than a minute. And we're going to click on Framing. So now we hear on there, on the machine, it tells us that the function is ready. So press the button when you're ready to go, and then you get up and you come over and you'll see that this light is kind of glowing and it's ready to frame it out. So by hitting the button, things start up, it goes over, and it frames out our project. So it looks good. We're right in the line there. So now when we come back over to here, the framing function, so we've already done that. We've completed the framing. So framing's good. So now we want to go up to either start or cancel. Of course, we want to start. So we hit that start button, and again it says press the button on the device to start processing. Exercise caution, of course, flammable materials. So this is a nice function that I like because it gives you a chance. With other lasers, I've had to rush over, hit the button and rush over to see it frame out or start. With here, I can kind of walk over nicely. The light's flashing there, and I will just hit the button. All right, ready. So now, as soon as we pull it out, there's our outside. So there's the full cutout right there, and you can see it nicely cut through that. So there it is. Now you will notice there's some scorching on the bottom here. So this unit does come with what's called air assist. You can get that as an option. I don't have that on this one. You will have seen from the close-up inside the machine while it was cutting that there was smoke coming off of it. What the air assist does is it is a nozzle that goes down and produces air. So it blows air down at your project to clear smoke away from there. Now, one thing, fire safety is important. And this is the feature with having to walk over and press the button to start it is great. You always need to be in the room. You should never leave the room, of course, when your laser engraver is running. I've got fire alarms linked up throughout the whole house here, but I stay in the room while it's running. And I've got a nice little, I got my instruction manual behind it. A fire extinguisher, just in case. So this is an ABC fire extinguisher. So, if you're cutting plastics or wood or styrofoam or whatever it is, this is what you want. So what xTool has, and this is something that you might be interested in if you have any laser engraver, really, or if you're planning on getting a laser engraver, they have this fire safety program coming up. And when I first thought of it, I thought, well, okay, a fire extinguisher. I've got a fire extinguisher. That's a great safety program. But I went and I read over the email here, and it says here it has auto flame detection. And I'm like, oh, okay, so this is something a little bit more than just a fire extinguisher. So they just came out with this fire safety system. So I will put a link down in the description. You can go down there, you can click on that, and you can go over to xTool and you can sign up to be a beta tester. They will send you the equipment and you'll be able to test it out. So auto alarm trigger, auto power cutoff, and then it's it looks like it's a CO2 gas. So it hooks up. Like I'm assuming it's a kind of a portable, isolated kind of unit that you set up in the area of the unit, and then it sounds like the M1 or D1 or whatever laser engraver you have. Possibly it hooks up to your power supply where there's a plug and it kills power to it. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. They're going to send me the information when they have that available, and they tell me that should be available the first week of December. So we'll let you know. But I will put all the information down below, including our affiliate link. So if you don't have a laser engraver or you want to expand your laser engraving and fabric cutting, then head over, click on that link down in the description. It helps us out. Of course, it helps you out as well. And everybody wins. It's a win-win. So that concludes this section of the video. As I mentioned at the beginning, I will be doing some mugs. I'll be using the rotary tool. We'll be getting into the fabrics. So I want to do a whole series on this. I've got a nice stainless steel mug here that I've got ready to go. To engrave our logo on it, I think. So that's there. So that is it. If you have any questions or anything, please leave it down below in the comment section. And until next video, happy engraving. Take care, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.